All right. Thank you for turning the channel once again back to our show. We truly appreciate it because she's back. She is back indeed. She is one of the most excellent writers that's out there that touches on the world of TV ratings and the world of television in general. You got to check out her work today on the TVRatingsGuide.com. That's the TVRatingsGuide.com, your source of news and information on everything going on within the TV ratings world, plus also great reviews. There are also original scripts as well for original programming that they do, plus stories, features, and so much more on the TV world as it is. It is my good friend back once again for our March TV update. It is Jessica Boggs. Jessica, always great to have you on the show.
Well, it's good to be back.
It is good to be back. There is a lot to talk about. Some things I threw at you as well that also piqued your curiosity. I could tell as far as our back and forth on Twitter. So let's get right into it right now with, I guess, the unfortunate big news in entertainment when it comes to television was the sudden sudden passing of Luke Perry, known primarily as one of the stars of Buffy the Vampire and, of course, Beverly Hills 90210. He was the dad, the father. He was one of the fathers on Riverdale, which is a popular show on the CW network. And you know how things go, Jessica, when it comes to a famous celebrity death and all that. And there is going to be some type of, I guess, I guess the way I'm going to say it is morbid curiosity when it comes to the Riverdale and how they react to it. Your thoughts on what's going on with Riverdale going forward? Do you see that type of morbid curiosity coming to play, where there could be a at least a short term ratings boost? Obviously for the wrong reasons, but I believe it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to slightly happen, as the Riverdale has been at a 0.3 for like its last two episodes, and we're waiting to see if the ratings rise a little bit on the short term. The problem is it's a serialized show, so ratings are not going to go up that much.
And also the fact that he's not a huge character involved with the show as much as obviously the show's star themselves, but he is a part of it. And he is a part of it. And I think there's going to be some curiosity, I believe.
I agree. But, as per the course, with Riverdale being serialized, and as the kids are going up to adults, the parents are going to be less focused, especially if that show is going to be long running.
And if I may ask, what were the prospects for Riverdale, at least before this unfortunate death for Luke Perry? And obviously his fans, his friends out there are devastated at this point in time. But getting before that unfortunate death happened, what were the prospects of Riverdale at this point in time as far as ratings with the CW?
Well, it's currently rating in the middle of the pack for 2019, but still one of the top rated shows on the CW. But recently, its last two episodes have gotten 0.3s, and the next episode hasn't even aired yet.
And I'm sure that's going to lead into some type of memorialization of Luke Perry, and obviously they're going to do something to pay tribute to him. I would imagine, at least, correct?
They are. They're dedicating the remaining episodes to Luke Perry.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And, go ahead.
Of season 3.
And we also, with the TVRatingsGuide.com and also Pop Culture Cosmos, pay our respects to the family of Luke Perry, gone way too soon. Really good actor and someone who will be sorely missed by legions of fans everywhere. I know he was not going to be involved. At least he had not been announced as of yet for that Beverly Hills 90210 revival. I know his name and Shannon Shannon Doherty's name were the ones that were not included in the list of returnees. But still, to this day, I'm sure they're going to go ahead when that show gets back on the air. They're going to somehow memorialize him as well. And it's just going to be a very sad thing going forward with Riverdale and also Beverly Hills 90210 because Luke Perry will not be a part of those programs. But my friend, we've still got a lot more to talk about. We're going to get right back up into a more happier note when it comes to the ratings world, although maybe not all happy if there's some shows that might be canceled. First off, your thoughts with ABC. We'll go alphabetically for you. Your thoughts on ABC and American Idol, because I know there's some fans out there wanting to know exactly what's going on with the ratings and the trends with American Idol.
Well, it's down from the season 1 premiere, but still one of the top rated shows on ABC. I mean, everything's down. But
and that seems to be a general theme going forward here in early 2019, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. As it has been in the past 30 some years in ratings. But with American Idol, it depends on the cost.
Absolutely, and that's going to be an issue with a lot of the shows. Do you think it's more of a factor that the streaming wars are now well underway? There's a lot going on, and with Disney Plus and NBC Universal both announcing streaming channels, that with NBC Universal and Disney Plus both becoming streaming entities, hopefully in the near future. I know at least it's certain for Disney Plus, and NBC Universal has just announced it. I just see that could this be something that is, could this be a determining factor in why viewership is down overall at this point compared to last year and previous years?
Well, I can see there's a general trend like the last 5 years with ratings going down every season, but streaming is a part of it. But I also think there's way too many cable shows with a more variety as more networks are added on to the cable packages.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's so much out there to see and watch. I know there's a lot of cable shows that are trying to do what they can to compete with these shows that are out there that are on Netflix, Hulu, CBS All Access, and so much more, because they can go ahead beyond what certain things you can show on broadcast television. So obviously it will garner a bigger interest from viewers out there. And I see a lot of cable shows that are now trying to touch on more NSFW content. For instance, Deadly Class. I've told you about Deadly Class, about how I like that show. I know we talked about it originally, how the show was okay when it came out, but it's really gotten better in recent weeks. The show's quality has, in my eyes and a lot of other people's eyes, skyrocketed to a really, really good level. So, but that also touches on NSFW subjects, and a lot of other shows as well on cable touch on that, and they're able to go ahead and show things almost in a similar light as what you're seeing on Hulu, on Netflix, and whatnot. So that is something to think about when it comes to what's going on in the television world. But there's also other stations that are out there that are broadcasting a lot of stuff. Any news on the CBS front? Because I heard their dramas are at least getting something back from what they've lost so much over the past few years.
Well, it seems like right now it's still too early to tell with the 2019 dramas, with the Ransom returning at point 2 and point 3.
Those are not actually strong numbers there, but I know some of their other shows, as far as, well, I guess maybe Magnum PI, some of the other shows that are out there. Those are shows that I think a lot of people are interested in seeing, as far as how well they will do, because the revival, as you and I talked about, these shows that are getting revived, not all of them are clicking with audiences. We saw what went on. We saw what went on with Murphy Brown, and now there are other entities out there such as Magnum PI, MacGyver, And as you've talked about other shows as well that are getting renewals that may actually be clicking with audiences, is it a time to go ahead and continue these revivals, Jessica? Or do you think it's time that these networks just look into some more original content and original programming?
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
No problem, no problem. But yeah, do you see these revivals continuing, or do you see a point in time where they're just going to go ahead and finally say across the board these networks, you know what? Maybe we should just go ahead and move into more original content.
I feel like there has to be a point where these revivals and reboots have to just like stop altogether or just limited, because not many people are going to see the Mad About You reboot or the revival. Sorry about that. On Spectrum, unless you are a, unless you have Spectrum yourself.
I agree with you on that. I think that's a little bit of a reach there, but we'll have to wait and see what kind of curiosity factor is on those. But I don't know. This is an overarching theme when it comes to the networks out there, with either a lot of revivals that are out there, or there's also a centralization of types of centralization of shows, because you see it all the time with CBS focusing on a lot of the law enforcement type of shows with NCIS, FBI, and SWAT, and yes, like you said, police shows in the past have been a point of something that like to be repeated again and again. And with NBC, they might, some people have called them national broadcasting out of Chicago, with the way that with the way they've done so many Chicago shows out there. But they see a trend, and they thought it was good to go ahead and earmark 3 shows, and so far it's worked for them. I remember CSI had the same thing going on way back when, so it's something that we're going to be continuing to see, I believe, in broadcasting networks for a while, with the lack of originality and forethought, and just going ahead, okay, we've got something good, let's go ahead and branch it off into something, or let's go ahead and remain on that same subject with all of our shows.
Yeah. Doesn't it get stale after a while?
Oh, yes, it does get stale after a while. I mean, the Law and Order shows, we saw that as well. You have a great point as far as the Law and Order shows that have also uh, been over the years, and we've seen how many of those clicked with audiences. So it's something we're going to be seeing a continuing trend of with the broadcast networks for quite some time, whether we like it or not. But with NBC that's out there, speaking of which, the national broadcasting out of Chicago, that's I know that's just thought off that one off the fly, but um, NBC is still doing some good things out there. You wanted to talk about a lot of renewals that were out there, and what's going on with possible question of ownership.
Well, recently, Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Superstore this past week have gotten renewed for new seasons.
Yay, Superstore!
Plus, we got like, especially with the Fox Disney merger coming into fruition, NBC, there are questions on ownership. With there's no reason why This Is Us is not getting renewed, but there's a question on ownership because NBC doesn't own it.
Okay, and there's also a question going forward in regards to NBC, and as far as what they're going to be doing in the future, and their motivations and their trends and importance of what they're doing in the future with NBC. Because, as I stated earlier, NBC Universal has also announced that they're coming up with their own streaming service at some point in the future, which is already going to be landing into an already overcrowded streaming market. So can't wait to see what their motivations and what their planning is, and how they're going to try to differentiate themselves from the pack going forward. CW, that's still. Hold on, sorry.
Yeah, we know Riverdale is one of the
Oh, yeah,
first
well, I was going to
topics
say.
on the list.
Well, yeah, I was going to say CW is still out there. They're still doing some things. They're still doing their own things per se, and they still have their tried and true base that loyally follows them whatever they put out. But your thoughts on what's going on with your thoughts on what's going on with the CW?
So Sunday, all the shows came back on hiatus, but what really surprised me was Supergirl and Charmed combined both beat Arrow and Black Lightning in the ratings last night.
That's
No, not last night, but Sunday night. And then Arrow hits a series low of 0.2, which is typically what you see from Dynasty.
And that's a bad sign because Arrow at one time was the anchor to what everything CW was doing because of the fact that it had such I guess, a nice following, and it led to the Arrowverse and a lot of other individual shows that came out that were relating to it. I remember it being the feeder show as far as someone would be on that show and then go ahead and branch off into their own show. So it looks like Arrow's hurting. It's got an arrow through it at this point in time, so it needs to obviously do something different to go ahead and try and bring those ratings back up at least a little bit. Your thoughts on Arrow's? Your thoughts on Arrow? Hold on, sorry. Your thoughts on Arrow and whether or not it's going to be lasting long term, or is it finally time to go ahead and move into a different direction with some other DC programming?
I feel like even with that, as long as the show is making money, though, it will continue. Like a profits versus rating scenario. However, there's a limit. There's a point where cost is into play.
Absolutely, and at some point in time, the cost is going to outweigh the benefits of what Arrow is doing, especially if it heads on that continual downward trend in the ratings. There's also a lot to talk about. There's also a lot to talk about when it comes to cable. There's stuff going on with the with the E network, WGN America, True TV, and so much more. Fill us in on what's going on with cable, because cable is still there, even though a lot of people are turning on cutting the cord on cable. It's still going out of its way to try and make some things happen when it comes to bringing in audiences.
Well, first, I want to start with the E network. And you see, most of their shows are hitting like 0.2s, 0.3s. But when you look in the late night ratings, that's when you hit below a 0.1, below a 0.1 in the late night shows, including Busy Tonight, Lady Gain, all these other shows that E is trying to break out.
And that's not a good sign for them, although we will touch a little bit more on late night television here in a little bit. I know there's some things going on, like you said, with WGN America and also True TV as well.
WGN America, I mean, I would know this as the network that canceled all of their original programming because of the now dead Sinclair acquisition, but now they ordered 2 new shows. One of them just recently aired, and the other one is now starting to air. And both of these shows are doing much worse than what Outsiders and Underground both pulled.
Absolutely. And that's going to make a difference long term with how WGN America goes ahead and projects itself as a network. I remember when you told me that WGN America was was disbanding the idea of actually doing original programming, and they got rid of the original programming that they had. They also paid a ton of money for syndicated shows like Elementary, which I know is on its last legs, but it's something that they're changing their mind on once again. And this continual flip flop of what they're doing, maybe it's a sign of indecision. Maybe it's a sign of at the top that they're just there's some instability there. So we'll have to wait and see what WGN America is going to do long term. And I know you mentioned True TV as well.
Yeah, it's like with it's like a network where I'm sorry, and those who can't are not doing well. Those that are currently airing. And John Glazer loves gear.
All
They're
those shows
not
are not doing. All those shows are not performing well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's a shame to hear. And well, True TV has a very small base to draw off, anyways. And if you're not even doing well on that network, that's not a very good sign. They are going to get a big boost here in March from the from the from the NCAA tournament that comes up because they do get to show some of the early rounds. Although CBS All Access will be taking some of that as well, so that's very interesting how that's going to play out with the Turner networks and the CBS networks. How they're going to be going ahead. CBS will showing the National Basketball Championships, the NCAA basketball championships, that how they're going to be able to project those early rounds and show that out there. So that'll be very interesting to see what they're going to be utilizing because they, like I said, they're going to be incorporating CBS All Access. But with True TV, which Viacom owns, I know that's very important for them to keep that programming on the air as far as those basketball games because that gives them every chance and opportunity to go ahead and plug their own original programs for their shows during the commercial break. So I know it's very important for them to keep those basketball games on the air. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. And as far as venues and far as the type of games and regions that might be shown on True TV and the other CBS networks going forward. My friend, there's also a lot to talk about when it comes to late night television. And I know we pointed this out before we went on the air that for the first time in a long time, there is a new leader in a key demographic. And I know if you wanted to go ahead and touch upon it, because the late night wars, they've been continuing, I mean, even before we were born. So, which for me is saying something. So, at this point in time, your thoughts on what's going on with the late night wars, because there has been announced that a new leader, just by the smallest of margins, has taken place. And it just seems like it's something that whether you think it's politically motivated or not, it's something that is really taking it's really becoming some really it really is becoming some big news.
Well, yeah, it's like when I saw that article of Colbert beating Fallon for first time in the key ratings 1849 demographic, you would see Stephen Colbert can finally claim complete bragging rights. And then it was like, it literally said, liberal viewers have flocked to Stephen Colbert's late night show, and several potential Democratic candidates have already been guessed. So, according to that article, it may seem like it's politically motivated, whereas Fallon is more with entertainment.
And that's what I've noticed as well. The guests are more politically based on Stephen Colbert, and maybe that is driving up the ratings as it gets closer to the 2020 election. Obviously, the politics lately, whether we like it or not, has been in the news with the Cohen testimony taking some big ratings. Andrew McCabe, his where I'm going to do this. Let's see that because I know Andrew McCabe, his interview garnering big ratings for CBS. It just seems to be something that obviously we're tuning into almost on a nightly basis. And for now, at least, the Stephen Colbert Late Show is a big beneficiary of it. You're right; it is more entertainment based when it comes to Fallon and also Jimmy Kimmel, but it's obviously a big win now. But it's a big win now for Stephen Colbert, at least at this point in time. Now that he's eked ahead in this key demographic.
But I don't know if it's going to last that long because, you know, Colbert took the week off this past week. Like last week, Colbert took the week off, and now you have all all the late night shows are coming in. So it's going to be a close race.
It is going to be a close race. I don't see him pulling ahead and dominating like NBC has for many of these years when it comes to late night talk shows. I want to ask you one last thing when it comes to the ratings, my friend, and that is the overall success and the domination by The Masked Singer. Your thoughts on The Masked Singer as it closed out its run and we found out exactly who the leading masked singer is. Just your thoughts on the actual success of the show, and do you see it sustaining itself in the next coming seasons?
Well, I feel like it's amazing with what the Masked Singer has pulled in. It's pulled in so much intrigue and so much buzz, but I don't know how it's going to sustain itself. It's too early to tell. I'm thinking, would it probably be like another American Idol, or would it probably be another Joe Millionaire? We just have to see.
You will have to see. We will just have to wait and see. And I heard you and I may be going ahead and putting on some masks to see if we can go ahead and compete in them singer. You know, la 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 la. I'll probably do like a robot disguise. What would you, if you were, let's say that you were in the Masked Singer and they called your name on there and you were going to be a reoccurring, who is it? Who is behind that mask? What would you want to go as?
I would want to go on as probably not a robot, but the alien or something, or a panther or whatnot.
Oh, there you go, Panther. There you go. That would be cool. That would be cool. Yeah, you'd be like at the end, you do a roar like that. All right. Yes, as you belt out those hits, you win that contest, and I somehow end up being in last place once again. But I'm not a sore loser at all. All right. But it is once again our good friend Jessica Boggs from the TVRatingsGuide.com. You have to check out all of her great stuff that she writes upon virtually every day when it comes to the TV Ratings Guide, because they have a lot of awesome things when it comes to their great lineup of content that they have there, including including a renew cancel index for every major broadcast outlet and also cable as well. They've got their own original programming that you got to check out with all their great scripts that you can read and find out what's going on and just keep up to date with their awesome original content. They've also have reviews. They also have other features and just so much more. It is the TVRatingsGuide.com. My friend, before we head on out, I got to talk to you about Captain Marvel. It is hitting theaters this weekend, and just similar to what we saw last year with Black Panther, there is a very cultural importance and theme here. It is something that while oh what oh it is something that I know Wonder Woman has come out previously and also made importance the fact that a female superhero leading the way, being a star, is something that can earn big dollars at the box office. But the importance of now this being the first female-led Marvel movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Unfortunately, all apologies to Jennifer Gardner and her run. Unfortunately, that movie didn't pan out. But the this is the first female-led Marvel movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The importance of this, you feel, as far as what it should be and what it is when it comes to Captain Marvel as it hits theaters this weekend.
I mean, the casting was on point. The reviews are positive, and I feel like it's a huge deal for a woman to have led a Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And that's what I want to know more about. Your thoughts on how important this is to not only going forward. And I know my good friend Josh said it best, that diversity already should have been already in place when it comes to Hollywood. Yes, that's correct. But it is It hasn't been the case. It hasn't been treated fairly, and women have not been treated fairly in Hollywood, and that is hopefully changing into a much better format and much better frame of mind. This movie is still, to me, a big important an important step going forward for women in cinema. And your thoughts on what you think this will do going forward with more women or female led, not only superhero movies, but really female led big action AAA features going forward.
I feel like this is a big deal because, as we've seen with Black Panther getting some praise, I feel like this is going to get some praise from the critics as well. But I haven't even seen Black Panther, and I don't know if I've seen Captain Marvel, but it seems like it's going to be an entertaining movie.
It seems like it is. It's truly something I feel that's very important to a lot of individuals out there. And as a father of two young ladies, they're seeing it as an important milestone, as they saw as they saw Wonder Woman and as they saw Black Widow in the Avengers movies. That was the first time they really took hold and took witness to what something was interesting and all about as far as the advancement of women in major blockbusters. So I'm happy for that this is taking place. It should have taken place a long time ago, especially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But you know what? It's coming now. It is this weekend. It is Captain Marvel, and I'm looking forward to catching the movie myself and sharing my thoughts. And I'm looking forward to the most is catching it with my daughters, who see this as well as I do as an important step in the right direction. Well, my friend, it's been fantastic having you on the show. Any last thoughts on the way out?
Well, we are pulling in 3 new shows are premiering on TV Ratings Guide. One new drama, The Book of Terry, and there's new comedies, College, and Finally Together, with the Finally Together originally titled Family Reunions.
Well, that's oh, go ahead.
These scripts are coming out this week.
And that's something definitely to look forward to. You always put out great content when it comes to the TV ratings guide, and as someone who we truly appreciate coming on our show each and every month, giving us the lowdown on what's going on with the TV ratings world out there, we just truly appreciate you taking the time and doing so. Once again, it is Jessica Boggs from the TVRatingsGuide.com. You got to check out her work and all the other great work that's going on with the TVRatingsGuide.com. And follow them as well on social media. They're available now on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or no?
We are available on Instagram.
And Instagram.
But Instagram is just not as active.
I hear you. And Instagram as well. Well, my friend, it's been great having you on the show. Great as always. Awesome as always having you a part of the program. And of course, right here, a great part of the pop culture cosmos.